Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, to the Gray Sauble Conservation Authority Full Authority meeting of Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. And I'm going to request that Member Tobin please grace us with the land acknowledgement today.
We acknowledge, with respect, the history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. And further give thanks to the Chippewas of the Saugeen and Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We also acknowledge the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples.
Thank you, Tobin. Moving on, does anyone have any disclosure of pecuniary interest today? Knowing you can declare later if so need be. Seeing nothing, we will move on. Thank you. Call for additional agenda items. I'm actually going to bring something in here. There was a letter received from Neon regarding the upcoming September 4th hearing that will need a board decision on and discussion. So we will move that, add that to the agenda and move that to later on. Thank you. And adoption of the agenda. I need a motion that the Gray Sauble Conservation Authority Board of Directors approve the agenda of August 27, 2025. May I have a mover and a seconder? Member Bell and Member Shaw. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of July 23rd, 2025. Everybody received the minutes of the July 23rd meeting in their package. I would move that the Gray Sauble Conservation Authority Board of Directors approve the full authority minutes of July 23rd, 2025. May I have a mover and a seconder? Vice Chair Dubik, Member Shaw. Any comments, questions, errors? Seeing nothing, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Business out of the minutes, there is nothing at this time, so we'll move to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda today? And seeing nothing, I will move that in consideration of the consent agenda items listed on the August 27, 2025 agenda, the Gray Sauble Conservation Authority Board of Directors receives the following items. 1. Environmental Planning, Section 28 Permits, July 2025. 2. Administration Receipts and Expenses, July 2025. 3. Conservation Ontario Council Minutes, April 14th, 2025. 4. The minutes of the BRWI meeting minutes, May 27, 2025. And 5. The recent media articles. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive that, please? Member Mackey, sorry. Member Day. Just got you were there for a second, sorry. Moving on to number 8, business items under administration. Point A is going to be the strategic plan final draft resolution, attachment 7 in your agenda. And I'm going to turn that over to CAO Lantier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just take a second to pull up the document, or rather a slideshow associated with the document that I'm going to share with the board. Okay, so I'd like to start by thanking the board and staff and everybody who participated in this document. So it is now at a place where we're looking for approval to make the strategic plan final for the 10-year period from 2025 to 2035. As you can see, it's got a pretty standard format that we're following here, where the vision is realized by the mission, which is realized by the goals, the strategic directions, and the strategic actions. And reading that in reverse, by the completion of these actions annually in our work plans, we'll achieve our goals and our vision for the organization. So the vision itself was approved by the board in May, as was the new mission for the organization. And so our new vision as part of this new strategic plan is a vibrant watershed supported by GSCA, where ecosystems thrive and communities are healthy, safe, and prosperous. And our redefined mission statement is to champion a healthy and safe watershed through innovative conservation efforts, sound planning, and inspiring educational initiatives now and in the future. Also approved earlier by the board of directors are the 5 goals that form the foundation of our strategic plan. And these are to achieve organizational excellence, effectively monitor and manage the risk of natural hazards, enhance GSCA land management, improve watershed health, and strengthen environmental education and communication. When we previously brought the draft white paper strat plan to the board in May for comment and approval, we had a list of about 90 mixed directions and actions that went along with it. We wrestled with this for a while and determined that from the perspective of communicating that, it was awkward and a bit clunky. So what we've done is rolled those directions and actions up into 4 specific directions for each goal. And under these, in the board package report, you will see still that list of potential actions that includes about 90 potential actions to help achieve these directions and these goals, with a timeline and a cross-reference to show how each of these actions is not independent to one goal in many cases, but actually helps achieve multiple goals across the organization. And so by grouping the directions for each goal into 4 for each, it becomes much more concise and much easier for us to communicate and to action. So under Achieve Organizational Excellence, the directions that we're aiming for over the next 10-year period are to enhance employee experience and retention, to support effective board engagement, to improve our client partner stakeholder experience and satisfaction, and to ensure successful, sustainable corporate operations. So we're already traveling down the road of trying to accomplish these items, and some of the initiatives that we already have in place are making sure that you as the board are informed so that you can be engaged, supporting our volunteers and partnerships throughout the community, undertaking operational planning. So this will be our work plans and through our budgets and our long-term budgets. We continue to modernize our policies to make sure that they stay up to date with what the needs of the organization are. We've been prioritizing a workplace culture and trying to enhance client services. To achieve our effectively monitor and manage the risk of natural hazards goal, we'll be updating natural hazard technical studies and tools, continuing to monitor and communicate the risk of natural hazards, continuing to manage the risks associated with those natural hazards, and to maintain comprehensive policies, procedures, and tools for that natural hazard management. Again, we're already doing things that are helping us down this road, including our ongoing flood forecasting and warning program, the management of flood and erosion control structures, and around that one, we plan to improve our communications with your municipalities on those structures and how they're benefiting your individual municipalities and what that relationship looks like. We'll continue to guide development away from areas of natural hazard so that people and property remain safe. And we'll continue to leverage GIS for natural hazard mapping to make us as efficient as possible. To achieve our enhanced GSA land management goal, the directions that we'll be taking are to enhance the visitor experience and compliance, to effectively monitor and manage ecology and biodiversity of our properties, to properly manage our conservation land assets, and to engage the community to enhance our ability to manage these lands. Some of the things that we're currently doing are we're providing public access and recreation to the properties. We're seeking collaborative efforts to improve conservation on these lands. We're trying to mitigate threats to the ecosystem. We're undertaking management plans to make sure that we're strategically thinking about how these properties are going to be managed into the future. and we're undertaking sustainable forest management practices. To improve watershed health, our directions will be to ensure an ongoing understanding of the health conditions of the watershed, to provide services that enhance this health, to engage the community to help us support these initiatives, and to make sure that we understand and effectively communicate the impact that our actions are having on watershed health. Currently, some of the things that we're doing are the drinking water source protection and risk management work that we do, watershed health reporting through our watershed report cards, surface water quality monitoring. This consists of both our stream water quality monitoring as well as the benthic monitoring that we do. And then stewardship funding and support. So our stewardship team is constantly seeking grant funding and then supplying that out to the community so that we can have these stewardship projects undertaken. And finally, for our strengthened environmental education and communication, we'll create inclusive, accessible educational programming, leverage volunteers to support outreach, education, and community engagement, launch public engagement campaigns, and enhance the awareness of GSCA's role and impact while creating feedback loops to guide continuous improvement. Some of the things we're currently doing is we do have an education strategy in place that we're delivering. We do conduct community outreach right now and engagement, and we are continuing to improve our strategic communications. So big picture, what this looks like is that we'll plan the work in each year, and so those actions will find their way into our annual work plans and our annual budget. And those actions will help us accomplish the directions and the goals. So we'll plan for them, we'll do them, we'll report back to the board and to the public on how we performed. But at the same time, we'll also make sure that as each year progresses, that the plans that we've set out are still achieving goals that we've set out. And if they're not, we'll take action to change the strategy or change those actions to make sure that they do accomplish what we need them to do. So some of that will be trial and error, learning and seeing what's working and what's not working. And some of that will be because the landscape before us is changing and we need to adapt with it. So with that, I would move that, well, the motion in the board package. And, but I would also welcome any questions or comments from the board of directors at this time through you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Tim. So I will read the motion, just to put it on the floor so we can discuss. Whereas the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority has developed the final 2025 to 2035 strategic plan, that the Board of Directors adopt the GSEA 2025 to 2035 strategic plan as presented, and that staff be directed to integrate the strategic plan into annual work plans, performance frameworks, and organizational reporting mechanisms. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Member Bell, Member Day, and any questions for CAO Lantier? Member Shaw.
Yep, we got the turn off button. Thank you. Great work on this, Tim and team. The final document looks really good. My question is, once this is finished and posted up on the website, do we also post the work plans up on the website, or for members of the public who are looking for the detail of the actions and what the meat of is within the plan behind the directions? Is that accessible to the public in an easy format as well?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we will be doing that. Traditionally, it's only existed in the board packages, which are publicly available, but not as easy as being right there on the website. But moving forward, what we'll do is make sure that those actions are listed on the website, as well as the status of those actions as we go through them in the year.
Anything else? Vice Chair Dubik.
Thank you. I just want to echo the great work that's been done here. This is excellent. It's so well organized, with the goals and the objectives and the initiatives underway. And then also just, the appendix working things out. with also years. Also, so helps us to understand some of the prioritization and how this does get rolled out, as we move forward. So just again, I would just like to echo the comments that have been made that this is excellent work, and thank you to everybody that's been involved.
Thank you, Nadia. Anyone else? Okay, seeing nothing, then I will call for a vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Excellent work. So moving on to business items administration, point B is the Q2 budget update, attachment in your agenda item, and Allison, I believe, will be addressing this.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so at the end of Q2, I'm just gonna kind of run through the operations part of the summary that's in the package, just to the final page, go over the overall totals and differences. We have the major difference between the budget and the forecast is in a few different expense accounts. The materials and supplies, we have almost 105,000 higher than what we have in the budget we're forecasting. And the majority of this is in stewardship and in our forestry department. The stewardship department, we did not have any expenses for projects included in the budget because we were not aware at that time what we were going to have available for funding. So that has made up about 69,000 of the difference in the overall expectation of expenses. The remainder is in the forestry department, and some of that is for gravel in our timber access to roads for harvesting the timber that revenue source became known at the very end of the year, and we received payment for that in the first quarter. Also, the expenses for the trees that were planted this year were higher than what we had in the budget. In our transfers to reserves, that is one of the other bigger differences in this side of the budget. And we are expecting to be able to transfer significantly more money to reserves than what we had budgeted. Then again, the majority of the reason for that is the large timber contract that we were able to we landed. And also, I guess the other is a little bit of increase over what we expected for parking revenue. That's probably, that part of it's likely going to change. So on the revenue or funding side of the summary, agreements and MOUs and grants, we have a difference there of 78,000. We're expecting more. Most of this is in stewardship for funding that was not included in the budget. So a reallocation of forestry, Gray Sauble Forestry Service revenue, where we've got a smaller amount in agreements and MOUs and a larger portion in sales and services. So that makes up the difference in that section. We got some funding in from Canada Summer Jobs for our operations department. So there's a little extra money from that. And also our education department was successful in receiving some grant funding that was not budgeted for. And that is, I guess, the majority of what I have to talk about.
Yes, thank you, Allison. Yeah, I will throw it open to the floor. I will just read the motion, get it on the floor. Whereas the Board of Directors approved the GSCA 2025 operating and capital budget on February 27th, 2025 by motion FA-25-015, that the Board of Directors receive staff report 024-2025-2025 Q2 budget report back as information. Again, I will ask for a mover and a seconder so we can get that Member Mackey and Vice Chair Dubik. So any questions for Allison? Member Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the report, Allison. Just a quick question around the forestry services. You said tree costs were higher than anticipated. Are those, I thought that most of the tree costs were cost recovery when we're planning for individual landowners or people purchasing trees. Can you just elaborate on that, why the tree costs were higher than anticipated, please? Thank you.
I believe we sold more trees than what we had budgeted to sell. They were about 35,000. It's about 35,000 higher than what we had in the budget.
Just to clarify on that, I think what we're saying is the expenses are higher, but they are matched by an increase in revenue as well. It's just to recognize for the board why that expense level is higher. So even if you look at the totals for the expenses versus the forecast and the revenues versus the forecast, you'll see that both go up equally.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Member Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the report. You touched on it briefly about the revenues of parking. It's fairly encouraging to see it was well over $85,000 bringing that in. And it's encouraging to know that folks are using that ability to pay when they visit our locations. And I just like to see that number. I thought that was a very good, solid number in your report. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Gloria, I should have mentioned at the start of the meeting, we do have one member on virtually, Member Durst, and unfortunately I can't really see. So I'm going to count on you, Gloria, if any questions or comments come through from Kathy, let me know. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments on the budget update? And seeing nothing, I will ask for a vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Allison. So moving on to business items, point C, the GSCA Priority Work Plan Interim Report 2, attachment 9 in your agendas. And CAO Lantier will address this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll go through this briefly, and obviously if you have any questions or comments, let me know. You can feel free to jump in at the time or at the end. But essentially everything's proceeding very well from my perspective. Of the 45 projects that we planned for this year, 15 of them are fully complete. Of the remaining 30, 25 of those, or 83% of them, are on track as projected. 4 or 13% of them are still intended to be done within the year, but have timeline adjustments, and those are identified in the plan. They're highlighted in yellow in the timelines. You can see what those are. And only one of the items of the 45 did we identify as issues or concerns. It's not that the project is not going to get done. It's just that I don't expect it to be fully completed within the 2025 work plan year. So of the 4 items with timeline adjustments, we have our retention policy that we've been working on. This is largely it's largely done because we completed a project with several other CAs, where 2 of the larger conservation authorities in Ontario spearheaded the project, and several other authorities, including ourselves, paid into that, and they had legal counsel go through all of the types of files and documents that conservation authorities might have and identify retention timelines for those. What we need to do is just bring it home to ourselves and make sure that the items that we're listing are relevant items to us and put it in a format that's for ours. However, because of other time constraints, that one is being backbenched over some of the other projects that we have on the go. Again, not that it won't get complete, but there is a risk that it won't get completed this year. Our regulation mapping, we bring forward to the board annually. We've just pushed it by a month or two and it'll come forward later to the board. The board doesn't approve the updated regulation mapping. It is for information only item, and that will still come forward to the board. I believe we have that slated for September or October. The Explore Guide, which is the document that we give out to people when they visit our properties, we do have a new version on the way. We had hoped to have it done in June, but it's more likely now to come forward in September. So I'm hoping that when you're all sitting here at the September board meeting, that we can hand you a physical copy of our brand new Explore Guide for you to review. But we are still just using up the tail end of our previous print of it. But I've reviewed a draft late last week and it looks great. So I'm really excited to see this come out. And our ash management strategy. This item we've delayed intentionally because we need to get more information. We're grappling with trying to quantify the number of ash that we are going to have to tackle on our properties within areas that impact either our infrastructure like buildings and parking areas, our trail networks where they could pose a hazard to users, or where they have the potential to impact infrastructure on neighboring properties. And so what we're trying to wrap our heads around now is what is the magnitude of that risk, and B, what do we think the costs are associated with that? So I do raise a concern around that. We definitely will have the strategy to you this year. We're aiming for September right now. The concern is around how we're going to address the magnitude of the issue. But we are putting together some solutions that we hope will work, but it will take time to roll it all out. Mr. Chair. Let's go back.
Member Mackey.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Tim. Tim, part of the ash management study, will it also include, in our forest, the number of ash trees that we will remove? I'm just wondering, is there some time sensitivity? The ash are dying, at a fairly steady basis. Is there not a decrease in the value of those trees when they're dead as opposed to live? As far as, should we be going out to the forestry industry and trying to remove more ash trees earlier rather than later, I guess is the question I'm trying to ask. Thanks.
Through the chair. Yes, I understand what you mean. So we have addressed that separately through previous board direction. So two separate things here. One is the management of ash within our forests, and this item is specifically the management of ash within our recreation areas, as it were. So in terms of how we're dealing with ash within our forests, we're not going out and completely removing all of the ash. Rather, what we're doing and what the board has previously approved is that when our foresters are marking of a forest for harvest, is that if there are two trees that they're choosing from and one is ash and one is not, they will choose the ash and the ash will be removed over, say, a maple or a beech or whatever the other tree that they would have traditionally chose would be. So that is being dealt with, and that's a separate item. This item is specifically around the management of our recreation areas and how we deal with the hazard.
Goes. Member Day.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the CAO. I appreciate the work around ash. It's definitely noticeable in our communities that we need to do something to decrease the risk. And I am just curious. I don't have enough information to have any strong opinions. I have just on social media and I would need much stronger evidence to suggest doing anything, but I'm curious if there is stronger evidence that some ash are surviving the infestation, and if we should be, based on any stronger evidence that may or may not exist, applying that in our policies going forward.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think we can address that more fulsomely when we bring forward the strategy itself. But anecdotally, I think what we're looking at from the recreation perspective is I certainly hope that some of the ash are going to survive. And what I'm seeing in the forests and just everywhere actually is there's a lot of ash regeneration still going on. So you're seeing these young ash. So I think the hope is that that some will survive. But from the risk management side of it, adjacent to our trails and our infrastructure, it's not cost effective for us to leave the healthy one, which is healthy now, and it may not be healthy next year. And what we're seeing is that the visual decline of these trees is extremely rapid, because when you view them in 1 year, they may already be infested. And it's not until the following year that it shows that the crown is completely dead and the bark is scaling and things like that. I think so. What we've discussed internally, and again, this can be discussed by the board more fulsomely when that report comes forward, is that it's not effective for us to leave those only to have to go back in later and remove them. So I'll leave that for now, if that's all right with the board, and we can certainly discuss that more when that report comes forward. In terms of the one item that I've identified as issues or concerns, it's the planning agreements that we have with our municipal partners. Right now, we're working on the most complicated one first, which is one that we have with the town of the Blue Mountains. It's not complicated because it's the town of the Blue Mountains. It's complicated because it's a tri-party agreement with us and with Nottawasaga Valley and the town as well. So we have to make sure all partners are on side. Our team is hammering that one out, and we do hope to have that ready by the end of the year. We'll use that template in early 2026 to go to the remainder of our municipalities in Grey County to finish those agreements. We do already have an agreement with Bruce County. Historically, these agreements would include all of the work that we were going to do on your behalf, in addition to the work that we're mandated to do under the Conservation Authorities Act. With the changes that happened a few years ago to the Conservation Authorities Act, we are only able to do the work that we're mandated to do, and we can't provide those other services any longer. So these agreements are much simpler in the sense that they don't include a sort of a checklist of things that we can do for you, but rather what they're going to be based around is the idea that municipalities agree to circulate us applications within a certain time. We agree to comment within a certain time, and municipalities agree to collect the fee on our behalf, so that everything can be much more efficient, and we're getting paid to provide the work that we need to provide at the point of acceptance of the application. So it's more of a delay, but it's a delay such that it will fall into the next work plan and fiscal year. With the work plan, though, some of the things that I wanted to highlight are our biggest. So I have gone over a few of the concerns that we have with the work plan, but we've also had some massive successes this year. So the strat plan that we just presented back to you, this represents a tremendous amount of work on behalf of the team, and it's a huge success. And really happy to see that done and now approved and in place. Our education program fundraiser, grant seeking, we are at about 395% of our target. We targeted 79,000 in grant opportunities this year, we've targeted 20,000 in grant opportunities, and we've been successful with about 79,000 so far. So a huge success. Big shout out to the team there that's doing all that work and making that a reality. And not only is it bringing in a lot of revenue and grant funding, but the relationships and the partnerships that we're building through this program have been phenomenal, and they continue to grow. So wonderful success. At Clendenin Dam, this is our only actual flood control dam within the watershed. It's in the town of the Blue Mountains, upstream of Clarksburg. Our team has successfully rebuilt and replaced all of the stop logs in that dam now. There are 4 bays within that dam. This was a very large task, and I'm really happy to say that they're done. and they did an amazing job. And they tell me that while they still retain that, not only the corporate memory, but the actual physical memory, they're going to build 2 extra logs as well, so that we have those on hand should we need them in the future. We've already reported back to you on the success of the accessibility upgrades at Inglis Falls, but certainly that is a huge success in the work plan so far this year. One other thing that is still ongoing, and we just had another success last week, is the removal of Phragmites from some of our properties. So the staff team, various members of the staff teams headed up by our forestry and stewardship programs, has removed a large amount of Phragmites from the shoreline at Haibu. And just last week, a lot of the staff team, as a combination frag removal team building exercise, was in at Bogner Marsh, where frag is starting to grab hold, and they were in there and removed a substantial amount of frag there as well. And the one last thing that I wanted to mention is we went into this year not thinking that we were going to run a day camp at all, because our building is under construction, and I'm happy to say that we had 4 very successful weeks of day camp out at our Haibu Conservation Authority area rather this summer, and just so happy to see that went on. So yeah, big shout out to the team there too. So that is it, Mr. Chair. If there are any other questions from the board on the work plan and the status so far, happy to answer those.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, Member Dubik.
Thank you. With regards to the education grant success and you know, the 79,000 versus the 20 goal, so incredible success. Just wondering, is that changing how we're thinking about what we're offering, or is it more just a better cushion to cover our expenses? Thank you.
I'm going to provide the baseline answer, and then I'm going to reach out to Gloria Dangerfield, who is here with us today, as it's under her department. It's a little bit of both. So certainly when we are successful with these grants, we do need to modify what we're doing to do what we said we were going to do for the grant. And so that's changed things a little bit, and I think in a very positive way. It's also a bit of a cushion in that not all of the 79,000 is earmarked for 2025, and some of it actually bleeds over into future years. So it will assist there too. But Gloria, I would pass the mic to you so that you can expand on that more appropriately.
Yeah, so just briefly, I echo what Tim said. Generally, we have ideas of programs that we want to offer. We've outlined those in our educational framework, which was mentioned. So we have that high level strategy, but certainly those programs are driven on the ground by the money that's provided. So, for instance, we have our curriculum linked education, our experiential education, and then the community-based education. So those are the 3 pillars of the education framework. We stay within those, but we are certainly using those grant opportunities to drive the programming. So an excellent example of that, and it's had huge successes, the Turtle Stewardship Program. There's a lot of support in the community from funders for that type of programming. Everybody loves turtles. But we also saw the opportunity to create curriculum linked wetland programming associated with that, and also create Indigenous signage there. So there's a lot of different things coming into play, and it helps us get the funds, but also helps us focus on the things that we want to be doing as an organization. So, yeah.
Thank you, Gloria. Anything further on that, Tim? No. Are there any further questions for CAO or any other member staff on this? Seeing nothing, then I will move that. Whereas the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority Board of Directors approved the 2025 Priority Work Plan, Board Resolution FA-25-021, that the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority Board of Directors accept staff report 025-2025 as information. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Member Mackey and Member Tobin, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to a regular topic, it seems. Going to discuss the administration building skylight report. And I believe, Ian, you're going to address this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as part of the original building design, the skylight was an area that was noted for improvement. During the design process, when that preliminary cost estimate came in, there were significant costs that were noted at that time, over $356,000. So through discussion, it was decided to remove the roof scope from the design and tender package at that time until additional investigation into the skylight could be undertaken. So if we were going to, it was more than we were expecting. So before we're going to go ahead with it, we want to make sure that we're doing it properly and it is the correct solution. So we were moving forward with the skylight inspection. Unfortunately, due to the snow, that couldn't happen until April. The tender that went out for the building was in March, and we were not going to delay that for that item. So again, the roof, both the skylight replacement and the roof membrane replacement were pulled from that scope. However, they were included in the budgeting part of the approvals that we received. So it is included in the GSCA budget, but we didn't know the scope at the time. The inspection in April noted several issues with the skylight, water leaks along the frame, which we very much knew about. Issues with how the skylight was designed was part of what was leading to the leaks. The wood curb under the skylight was found to be quite rotten due to the repeated leaks, due to the water that was getting in there. There was cracks in several of the seals along the windows, and the roof membrane itself below the skylight had bubbles and pockets, and partly due to water getting in under that membrane. From the inspection, there was a short-term recommendation and a long-term recommendation. Short-term was really replacing some of the caulking, applying sealant, the corners on it, the hip flashing would need to be replaced, those items. But they ultimately, as they said, the short-term solution, there's no guarantee it's going to stop the leaks because it's not fixing everything. There's just some fundamental issues with the skylight. So long-term was full replacement of the skylight. Staff put together 5 options for replacing the skylight. Option 1 was the do nothing approach. Always has to be considered in there, of course, leaving it as is when we have a brand new building below it. Not ideal, not recommended. Option 2 was the minimum repair, just replacing the caulking. And once again, no guarantee that it's going to solve the problem. And you're still going to have to do something major in the future. So moving on to option 3. Option 3 was each one gets a little bit better at addressing the issues, but also increases in cost. Option 3 was an option to fill in the skylight. So basically removing the skylight and filling it in with a solid roof. Initially, this option was considering the roof would basically be the same layout as the skylight. You're basically just removing it all and then replacing it with a solid roof that would tie into the chimney at the same location, same pitch, all that sort of thing. Once we, and that was what we brought forward to the ad hoc about a month ago, we moved forward with talking to the architects about options. And they came back and said to move forward with that option to tie into the chimney would require us to actually remove stonework around. There's an actual channel that's built into the chimney that it connects to. It doesn't connect to stone, but the channel is too narrow for a new roof frame system to connect to it. So we'd have to remove the stones above it. We'd have to remove the stones below it, all the way around the chimney, rebuild it, and then basically put stonework back in. Given the age, we do not want to touch that chimney to that degree. It is not a recommended solution. So for option 3, it was revised to essentially build vertical walls where the edge of the skylight would be, and to build a roof completely over top of the chimney with solid walls all the way around. That option ends up being a similar design as option 4, but with no lights, no windows. Sorry, I should say no windows around the outside, but a solid roof over top. So it would solve generally the issue with the leaks, because you have that solid roof over top that you're not having to connect at the chimney. Would address those concerns, but there would be no skylight. There would be no light coming in at that point. Option 4 was the similar design, this cupola style roof, but of course with side windows on all 4 sides. And it is the option. There was some renderings that were prepared, and after discussion with the ad hoc, we moved forward with an actual design from the architects for that one option. And they were able to put together the renderings to actually show what it kind of would look like. So with that option, this entire skylight would be removed. The vertical walls would be built, and the lights would be there. That you'd still be able to see the chimney from the outside through the windows. Natural light would still be able to get inside. We provided both an interior view of it and the exterior view, because it is a difficult thing to picture. So with option 4, it basically maintains as close as we can to the historical design, the architectural appeal, and that of the chimney and the skylight system, while trying to address this concern of leaks. Any skylight has the potential for leaks or replacement, in that the nature of them. So looking at option 4, moving on, option 5 is the full replacement of the skylights, which was the most expensive option. And that is what took us to essentially evaluate all the options. So it would also address many of the concerns. However, we would still have this connection point at the chimney, that there is still the potential for leaks at that point. Even with a completely new skylight system, it would be flashed, it would be caulked and sealed, but that leak option, or potential, still would exist there. So looking at the 4 options, 1 and 2, very little improvement. And again, with the new building, we are not going to recommend that. Looking at option 3, while it was a good long-term solution for the leaks, again, has the roof over top. The loss of the natural light coming into the building, and the loss of the view of that chimney from outside, we think would be a significant loss to the building. In addition, the architect noted that additional lighting would be required inside the building, because it was designed assuming that there was natural light coming into that area. So that would be an additional item that would be required. Option 4 is the option that we are recommending, is that the cupola style roof. It is the one that, again, maintains the architectural design, the light coming into the building, while again reducing the risk of any leaks as much as possible. It should also be noted that the roof that goes over top of the full chimney, everything, the overhangs from that roof are designed so that the summer sun coming, which is higher, would be blocked, so that it's not coming direct sunlight in the summer into the building, but in the winter, when the sun's lower, then it would be able to come in. So passive solar style design sort of considerations, we did ask the architect to consider that in the design, and so that is also incorporated. The windows themselves would have a glazing on them too, so that even under those winter months when the direct sunlight is coming in, it would be tempered a bit, so that it's not an issue to staff, which was another item that had been brought up during the design. And option 5, we simply aren't recommending it, mainly for the cost, and the fact that it doesn't address the leaks as well. Looking at the financial implications, the estimated cost, just going back during the cost estimate, was $356,000. That was what led us to reconsidering the design and making sure again that whatever option we're doing, we can fully support that is the best approach. So right now, the scope that has been put to the current tender that is in with the contractor, there is no roof scope for the existing building. Of course, there is a roof on the addition aspect that was included in part, but the current tender with the contractor, there is no scope there. But the budget that was approved by the board included the roofing membrane being replaced at a cost of $72,000 and a skylight replacement cost of $50,000, which was estimated as being, we were maybe optimistically hoping that some sort of, instead of full replacement, some sort of fix could be put in place, repairs instead of full replacement. Again, that was before we had the inspection letter. So now we have the inspection, we've looked at the options, and we're recommending the option of moving forward with the cupola. So the costs for the construction and the design. So we have a design already prepared or completed by the architect. We provided it to the contractor. They provided us with the cost. And we have a cost for the roof membrane. So everything is in, instead of estimating, it's the quotes from them. So it would come in at $275,000 total. That is an additional cost of $153,000 from what was approved by the board as part of the overall building design. We are requesting that the additional roof costs would be taken from the contingency fund. So there's a $244,000 contingency. If $153,000 of that is used, that would leave $91,000 for the remainder of the project. So at this point, we are out of the ground, which is one area where issues can be encountered. We've also completed the demolition, so we know what's in the walls. So those are two aspects that often lead to extras in a construction job. There are others. So we had the discussion with the architect. None of us can predict the future, but we do believe that the $91,000 remaining would be a sufficient contingency to move forward with the rest of the build. At this point, we have not used any of the contingency funds, the contingency budget, because as issues have come up, we've either changed the scope or contractor to come up with a more cost-effective way of doing it. So in conclusion, again, option 4 is our recommended, the cupola style, and it's also supported by the architect, and we feel it's the best option moving forward.
Thank you, Ian. Very detailed report. That's great. And yeah, we knew this was going to be fun. So with that, I'll turn it over to any questions. Member Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ian. I think, well, I know how much work that you and Tim have done in regards to this. Speaking on behalf of the ad hoc committee, we met, as Ian had mentioned, about a month ago and viewed this few questions answered in this report in regards to glare, natural lighting. Further information that we didn't have at that time was, I think we were maybe leaning towards option 3 when we first sat down that day, but after further discussion and more information that was coming in, the ad hoc committee landed on a recommendation for number 4. And as I mentioned, the concerns that we did have been addressed in this report. So I'm certainly happy to recommend option 4.
Thank you, Scott. Any other questions for Member Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the report. The report was really well put together with all of the options. And I hope today that my fellow members will side with myself that I have solidly concluded that option 4 is a great option. In page 100 of our report, we got to read the scope, the pros and the cons of building this and doing this. I like how you ended with the financial aspect of Sauble doesn't have to go look for some refinancing or doing something like that. The project right now hasn't used any of the contingency. So if we use that, we get to do it. And on page 100, when it said about the benefits, really you keep the natural daylight in an administration center for Sauble. I think that's wonderful. And the architect's rendering. I'm very much excited about being able to, if we decide option 4, moving Fed, taking care of all those problems with that old skylight and all its trouble, something new, something good, get it done. And I'm very happy when asked to raise my hand, I'm going to support option 4. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the report.
Thank you, Member Bell. Anyone else have any questions? Vice Chair Dubik.
Thank you. And also thank you to the ad hoc committee for taking the time to go through this. It's in providing a solid recommendation forward for the board. So thank you. Just for clarity, when we're looking at the chimney, is that a functioning chimney? And is the roof like completely over the chimney? Like, so the chimney doesn't pop up through the roof, or is it completely covered? Thank you.
So my understanding is the chimney is not functional, or we have no intent of using it. I've never seen it used. That's everything I've been told, is that no, it is not a functioning chimney. The design essentially has walls being built on the outside, which is a bearing point for it. And we have a very nice, the way those pillars are that you can see in the basement and all the way up. It's a very nice design to allow for this. So they bear on that, and then they do bear on the outside of the chimney, goes directly over top of the chimney and completely covers all of that. So there's nothing, the chimney is not sticking out above, but what you can see from the outside is through the windows, you'd still be able to see the chimney is there. So you will not see it above, but that's what we like about the option, to be honest, is that we don't have to worry about this connection at the chimney any longer, which is where we believe the leaks are coming through.
Are there any other questions? Seeing nothing, I'll just ask one. It relates as well into the chimney. It's funny, we just had the Meaford old fire hall redone at a great cost, and it when they went in, they discovered that tower was just about to crumble and fall. They had to reinforce it completely, and I know obviously this isn't as exposed or problematic, and you kind of outlined that a little bit, but I just have a curiosity about the integrity of the actual formation of the chimney itself. Presumably you said they looked at the walls already. We've seen the interior of that and it's all good. I'm presuming the builders feel that chimney, the integrity of that is solid, the rocks, despite the water that's come down it over time.
So the chimney is a concrete chimney that goes up, and then the stonework is a facade on the outside. So there's been no visible cracks in it. There's been nothing. So it hasn't come up as a concern from any side. The builder, the architect, the roofing company, we've been on the roof to look at it, but there's been no sign of any concerns at this point.
That's good news. Thank you. Anyone else? And seeing nothing, then I will move. Whereas the skylight repair or replacement was identified as a need during the building renovation design process and has now been inspected by a specialist with issues identified and concerns noted. And whereas GSEA staff have considered the reasonable options to address the issues and reviewed the options with the building ad hoc committee, that the GSEA Board of Directors approved for GSEA staff to proceed with option 4 and with a change order to the administration building tender to include for replacement of the roofing membrane and replacement of the skylight with a cupola style roof with side windows. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Member Bell.
Member Mackey moved in earlier.
Member Mackey moved earlier, sorry. Member Bell second, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you very much for the work of everyone on that. Moving on to point E, staff retirement, and I will turn that over to CAO Lantier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I want to take this time with you as the board to recognize the retirement of one of our truly exceptional staff members that is Les McKay. So Les is actually on the WebEx meeting with us today from his home in Nova Scotia. Les has been with Gray Sauble in various capacities since the early 2000s. He initially joined us as an IT consultant, working for us from the outside. And from the very beginning, his impact with the organization has been profound. He built our network infrastructure from the ground up, creating a system that has supported our operations for over 2 decades. And his work has laid the foundation for how we function today. In 2012, under a shared service agreement, Les's expertise was extended to Saugeen Conservation, and so Les started working for both organizations. And in 2019, we were fortunate enough to bring Les on full-time. His technical knowledge, steady presence, and sense of humor have helped guide us through countless challenges, including a few IT emergencies. And certainly Les would be, he'd be the first one there, and it wouldn't matter what time of day or night it was. But Les's contributions go far beyond his technical skills. He's been a mentor to staff, he's been a problem solver within the organization, and he's been a friend to many. For anybody who knows Les, his dry wit and his famously long-winded tangents, sorry Les, often starting with a single question and ending somewhere completely different, have made him a truly unique, entertaining, and valued colleague within the organization. In 2023, Les made the decision to move out to Nova Scotia, and we made the decision as an organization to continue Les's service to us through a remote relationship that has continued to work exceedingly well and continued to show Les's dedication to the organization without wavering with that distance. So now, as he officially steps into retirement, Les, we want to express our deepest gratitude for everything that you've done for the organization, for your commitment, for your creativity, and for your character. You've left a lasting legacy here at GSCA, and you'll be very, very missed. And we wish you all the best in this next chapter of your life. Nova Scotia is very lucky to have you, and we will miss you. Thanks, Les.
Kent? Turn your mic. Sorry, Les, try it now. Nothing yet. This isn't looking good for the tech guy, Les. Sorry, nothing yet. Not yet. Les, if you can hear us, okay, I'm sorry, we still can't hear you. We're obviously whatever technical. Gloria just suggested it might be a good idea. If you could try and kind of figure what's going on your end, we could have Gloria make her presentation here first, and then we could come back to you, if that works. Great. Well, then hopefully we'll get back to you shortly. Thank you. So then moving on to GISIT, there's a RFP for IT services that Gloria is going to tell us about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So given the hole that Les has left, and as Tim alluded to, it is a big one, we needed to make the decision as to whether we were going to hire a new full-time staff or a third-party managed service provider for those IT services. Due to the complex nature of IT administration, the rise in security requirements, just the breadth of knowledge that you need across the IT landscape to manage an organization of this size. Considering all those things, and these are things that Les and I have been talking about now for actually a few years as he's been approaching retirement. So given that and the potential cost savings, we did make the decision to solicit a third-party provider for these services. So back in mid-June, we put out an RFP. We posted it to Merck's as well as sending it to several of our known vendors. There was a few local ones and then others that we had spoken to in the past. We did receive 23 proposals on July 11th on the closing date, which is quite a few proposals. We were pleased with that. The evaluation process was structured to ensure fairness and alignment with our needs as an organization. This took a lot of time. We created a large spreadsheet, a matrix to go through all of the little details and the things that they were proposing to provide, all the different services. And we established key criteria, and those included cost, security, strategy, help desk, and scalability. So we wanted them to provide secure, strong infrastructure. We obviously wanted the cost to be what we could afford. We want them to be proactive when it comes to road mapping, so we can be thinking to the future. And we want them to be scalable and be able to help our staff out. We had 3 evaluators review all of the proposals, and we used that standard matrix. And we met with our information services staff. So there was 3 of us on the committee on several occasions and had a lot of conversations. So in the end, we had some top scoring vendors. They were shortlisted, and we met with 3 selected vendors for interviews. Within these interviews, we walked through the steps and service offerings and went over a lot of the challenges that we regularly see, just to discuss and see how they would approach those challenges. The interviews did serve to validate the proposals and gauge the responsiveness and alignment with our needs. So within the top 3 vendors, they were all very, very close, and it was a really tough decision. However, MSP Corp stood out. They have a very proactive approach to IT strategy. They had a clear onboarding plan, and they very clearly have the ability to take us on. They have access to over 700 professionals who can help us with all of our different needs. In terms of financial implications, considering the cost of an internal staff person against the vendor base and onboarding costs, plus a contingency that we've added on top of that, we're seeing that we'll be saving approximately $43,000 per year. The contingency considers fees for any setup costs, IT hardening, security, additional recommended subscriptions. A lot of those might be related to backup and recovery. And then also improvements that may come along with the building upgrade. So I think that this will offer a very cost-effective solution, and it will give us some opportunities for expansion and growth moving forward. In terms of communication planning, as mentioned in my report, we will be connecting with all our internal staff. They'll be updated on the timeline for onboarding, which we're hoping to begin in September. And all staff will be informed of any requirements. We will provide orientation sessions where required as needed, and provide updates to minimize any disruptions to our daily business. And we will be meeting with the vendor on a regular basis, pulling in department heads where needed, especially when it comes to defining business needs and the potential for improvements. There may be some external messaging required for some partners, volunteer groups, that type of thing, which we will certainly stay on top of. As you can see, in terms of consultation, we've consulted with several internal and external staff during the process. Many other CA staff I've been in touch with, as well as all the vendor references. So overall, I do think the selected vendor will offer a great deal of opportunity for Gray Sauble, and I look forward to the opportunity to work with them.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Any questions for Gloria on this RFP? Member Shaw.
Thank you very much, Gloria. Is MSP a local company? I don't know very much about them, but also kudos on having so many proposals submitted. That's really impressive.
Thank you. They are not local, but the main office we will be dealing with will be in Guelph. So not too far away.
Anyone else? Member Mackey.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the report, Gloria. My only question is under consultation, was there any consultation with Grey County IT department? Like, we have a very robust IT department here. I was just wondering if there had been any reach out to Grey County.
I have connected with Grey County in the past a fair amount with the IT staff, but not specifically on this RFP, no.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing nothing, I will move. Whereas GSEA posted an RFP for network administration services and received 23 bids from information technology managed service providers. And whereas after a full review of proposals, interviews with the top 3 vendors, and scoring of all service providers using the criteria of cost, security, strategy, help desk response, and scalability, MSP Corp scored the highest. That the GSEA Board of Directors agree to appoint the vendor MSP Corp as the managed IT services provider for the base monthly rate and onboarding costs listed in the proposal for a contract period of 1 year with the potential to roll forward for up to 3 years. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Vice Chair Dubik and Member Shaw. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Gloria. I'm going to try and go back to last year and see if we have any further luck.
Can we hear
Unless,
me
are you
now?
there?
Can we hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. I'll even let you have a look at me. Back to the beginning. Tim, thank you so much. You're too kind with your words. It's me that's the grateful one. I've had an exceptional time working with both authorities, in particular Gray Sauble. I've referred to it as my home CA. That's kind of what I called it when they agreed to bring, to bring me back on board full time when I resigned from Saugeen for reasons to be closer to home. And here I am way out here. And I'll try not to digress too much. I do want to say that it's been a pleasure to work with all of the staff, really, truly, but especially in the department. My colleagues, my teammate Gloria has been an amazing colleague and a good friend. And so for all that, I'm very thankful. And the authority allowed me to come out here to start my vacation, find the place that I'm happiest, and I have. And it's been a great run. And I want to thank all the staff, Tim and all his people, especially Gloria, and the board too, for keeping us going, keeping the authority on its mission. I'm proud to have worked for it. And I wish the authority and the staff all the best. And as I said before, if you're ever out in the East Coast, it is beautiful out here. And you're all welcome to come by and visit. And I guess that's about all I have to say. Thanks a lot, and just about done. A little bit of onboarding with the new company. I'm confident they're going to do a good job, and they're in good hands, being guided by Gloria. So it'll all be for the best, I think. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Les. We really appreciate everything from, on behalf of this board and past. Thank you for everything you've done for GSCA, for getting it to the point it is, and for handing it off as well as you have. I guess the concern is once we lose you and John, are the wheels going to come off this thing? But I think everybody's done a really good job of getting us to where we are, and we really appreciate it and wish you nothing but the best out in Nova Scotia. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to, I'm gonna, at this point, bring in, I had moved earlier to add the letter from Neon regarding the hearing that was supposed to be upcoming for September 4th. And I may turn this over to Tim just to give a little bit of explanation, but this is germane to that scheduled hearing. So Tim, if you want to just kind of describe what's kind of transpired. Yes, would anyone like a copy? There was a letter that was sent regarding requesting a deferral for the hearing. So Valerie will pass that around, and I'll let Tim just add some notes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I'd like to do is just quickly give a bit of a background to the board on what we're talking about here. So we have an application before the Conservation Authority that came in the spring. The application that's before us is we're not able to approve at the staff level because it's not consistent with policy of the authority. So what's required then is that the applicant has the opportunity for a hearing. That hearing and the decision of the authority are supposed to occur within 90 days of the application being accepted as a complete application by the authority. We had planned to hold this hearing in July. At that time, the applicant was also going through their zoning bylaw amendment and their official plan amendment with the municipality and the county respectively. And they asked us to defer the hearing at that time, which we did. And we deferred it to September 4th. It has been a challenge rescheduling to get all of you as board members lined up on a day that's not a regular board meeting, and also our legal counsel and staff and so on. The hearing is currently scheduled for September 4th in the morning. We have received a revised request from NEOIN as presented in this letter that be deferred again, and that come to you to ask for that deferral. They have stated in their letter that they're evaluating alternate sites for the proposal. So what I would like to do is offer a bit of an opinion from my perspective, or from the authority's perspective through me, I guess, to set the stage for this. Essentially, as a board, right now you're acting as the board of the authority. In this situation, you would be acting as a hearing board. But your role will be to review the application and the merits of the application versus the tests of the Conservation Authorities Act and to make a decision. To do that will require your time. It will require our staff's time. It will require the applicant's time, and it will require us to bring our legal counsel in. We have passed that 90-day deadline. We have a previous letter from the applicant when they asked for the deferral the last time that states that they won't appeal it under the mechanisms in the Conservation Authorities Act. They're saying that again here. Our goal as a conservation authority is to keep development out of areas of natural hazard. It sounds like the applicant is attempting to do that by finding another site. My recommendation to the board is that we accept this request for deferral, because what it does is, the worst case scenario is we still have the hearing and we have it at a later date, say later in September or early October. Best case scenario is the applicant withdraws their application. We don't spend staff time, board time, and money on legal counsel having a hearing that may be rendered not necessary. So that's my recommendation through you, Mr. Chair, but obviously this is a decision for the board to make. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Are there any questions or comments? Questions to Tim on this first? Member Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the CAO. The letter that was sent, do we have anything that has anybody's signature that would back this up when they in particularly say they're not going to go to the Ontario Land Tribunal? And just looking at this, it's great information, appreciate it. But is there anything that would secure us that they don't change their mind and do exactly the opposite? Do we have something to back up?
Thank you through the chair. The letter does have the signature on the back. I'm not sure if all copies have that or not. So that's who the application is coming from. What I would say is, I mean, technically at this point, they can make that appeal. They're outside of the 90 days, or we technically are outside of the 90 days. They could make that appeal. I would suggest that it wouldn't look good on them, because we have the last letter and this letter stating that they're asking for the deferral and that they wouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, the way it's built into the Conservation Authorities Act is whatever decision the board of directors makes, the applicant has the opportunity to appeal that decision to the OLT as well. So no, we don't have any absolute guarantees, but I would hope they're acting in good faith.
Thank you, Tim. Does anyone else have any questions on this? Thinking. Member Mackey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah. Sure how much discussion we should have, but Tim.
Yeah, I was just gonna head that off. We should not talk about the merits of the application at all at this time. All we're looking at is, are we willing to defer their request for a hearing or not? It's very important that we only discuss this, or that you only discuss this as a hearing board.
Would you still like to ask a question, Member Mackey, or does that kind of curtail what you were going to ask? No, I'm just, he's thinking, I'm waiting.
He's trying.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it probably does curtail some of what I might be asking. I guess maybe, and I will seek direction through the chair, but the question then, and maybe this has some bearing upon the decision by Aaron Ellerslie and by Bruce County. Does that have any bearing on this whole process? I'll leave it as generic as that.
Through the chair, no, it does not. When this application ultimately comes before the board, it will have to be viewed strictly in light of the tests of the Conservation Authorities Act. So the OPA and the zoning were viewed under the tests of the official plan and the zoning bylaw and the provincial policy statement. The provincial policy statement will play into your ultimate decision, but ultimately it's the tests of the Conservation Authorities Act. So short answer is no.
Member Shaw.
Chair, I guess I would just state that I think for the reasons you made, Chair Lanthy, I think it makes sense to defer this. The expense to go through with this, as you said, and then perhaps it not even be a viable site at the end doesn't make sense in my mind, and so I would support the decision to defer and would be willing to make that motion.
Thank you very much. That's what I was looking for, hoping somebody was going to make a motion to request to reschedule the hearing as per the request. So Member Shaw, do I have a seconder? Member Day. If everybody's in agreement, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on, then that will.
Oh, sorry. 2 items. Yeah, no, we just.
No, I'm moving on to CAO reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a lot to report this month. Keep it pretty brief. As we've sent out to the board, just a reminder that we are having a volunteer appreciation day on September 5th at 11 a.m. at Haibu. We have sent the invitation to each of you as board members. If you haven't already responded to Valerie, please do so to let us know whether you plan to be there or not. And we have sent invitations out to all of our volunteers that participate with the Friends of Haibu, the Inglis Falls Arboretum Alliance, the Great Sauble Conservation Foundation, the Beaver River Watershed Initiative, as well as, I believe, invitations have been sent out to individuals for the Turtle Stewardship Program as well. I haven't heard the numbers yet, but I'm hoping we have a very good turnout. I'm hoping that we have excellent weather, and Haibu is a lovely location, so it should be a very, very good day. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is the Bruce Grey Forest Festival is coming up in October. This is a fantastic event that's held at Allen Park within Saugeen Valley Conservation's watershed. Allen Park's located between Durham and Hanover. And for this event, I believe there have already been 1,100 grade 7 students signed up to attend the event. We have about 300 high school volunteers that will be coming out to staff the various booths for the stations. Thank you. The various stations throughout the forest. It is an absolutely wonderful event. It's a great learning opportunity for kids. It's a great learning opportunity for adults that show up as well. And so what I would like to invite you to do, you've all been invited to be VIP members. And if you're interested in participating in that, please let Valerie know. She'll be following up with an email as well. But what would happen is that we would meet there or coordinate to drive down together to meet there at 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, October 9th. And so this will include a lunch within the big top, and then a tour, a private tour of all the stations at the Forest Festival, so you can see all the good work that's being done there. And that's yeah, the only other thing is that we do have a Conservation Ontario meeting coming up in September, 22nd of September. I'll be attending in person, and Vice Chair Dubik will be joining me there. If you do ever have any questions about what's happening with Conservation Ontario, by all means, just reach out and let me know, and I can fill you in on whatever you're interested in. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I'll just add that Bruce Grey Forest event's amazing. It's, having been there, it's quite a feat pulling that together, that many students, and having that many volunteer instructors. It's a great event. Well done. Are there any questions for Tim on the report or anything else? Seeing nothing there, then I'm just going to say from a chair's report, I was also just going to keep it short. I know a number of us were at AMO last week. It was really interesting that from a perspective, I don't know whether anybody else in the room, there was obviously a lot of conversation about Bill 5 and Bill 17, which would have a direct impact on some of the conservation acts or the conservation authorities workings. It was interesting that in the bear pit, there wasn't really any questions this year directed regarding any CA issues, which in the years past when I've been, there always have been. There was certainly much more talk about tariffs and concerns. So it really leaves us kind of no different than where we were. I think I tried to kind of have a couple of conversations independently regarding it. I did meet with the Conservation Ontario people down there as well. And again, they said kind of the same thing. It's all kind of status quo with a lot of question marks, more question marks than answers, it seems, in terms of leadership from the ministry. So that's a hurry up and wait thing. I don't know if anybody else had anything from AMO that was relevant to anything Conservation Ontario or authority related. If not, then we will move on to we're just going to have need a resolution regarding the closed session minutes. Nope, we're not even doing that. Sorry, you're right, because we didn't move into that, but I thought we would accept those. So really, there's nothing else. So at this time, 2:45, then I will move that the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Just
Wow.
for the record, You can put me down as having been in favor of all the emotions.
Thank you for that, Kathy.
Just so long as
Art-
you thought I wasn't having a nap over here in Hope Bay.
It's hard when you're invisible. Thank you.